The lady that you interviewed last week. I'll tell you.
Yes, and we are live, and it is Wonderful Wednesday. I used to call it Woman Wednesday because I had a female co-host on Wednesday. Now I got them on Mondays, so it's just Wonderful Wednesday. You're wonderful.
Well, thank you. So are you.
Welcome, Jennifer Miller.
Thank you for having me.
When you can, Mr. Matt, just put on Jennifer Miller's banner that says her name. Wait, I didn't do that one. Well, if you want to do it, it's Team ANA 417. Sorry, I forgot to put your banner together this morning. I wasn't thinking. It wasn't my thinking cap morning.
I'll take care of it.
Thank you, Matt. That's Team ANA 417. Oh, wow. Nothing but the best right here. Johnny Rooster is my name. It's Morning Mouth, and this is a program just for the entrepreneurs, the nonprofits, and the entertainers among us. But if you're not in those categories, plug your ears and then take one finger out and listen anyway, because maybe you know an entrepreneur, a nonprofit, or perhaps an entertainer. And those are the people we're reaching out to. Today we have our co-host every month is Jennifer Miller from Team ANA, or is it Anna?
Whatever you want to do.
You want to say it out, ANA?
ANA.
Does ANA stand for?
Acoustic Neuroma Awareness.
That's why it's ANA.
That's
Acoustic Neuroma Awareness.
Yep.
Now that would have to do with, acoustic would be your hearing.
Yep.
Neuroma is your brain.
Mm-hmm.
And then awareness, that is a nonprofit term.
That's right.
Because everybody does the awareness.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think of nonprofits, the word awareness shows up a lot.
Yeah, I mean, it's a crucial element of usually why they're created.
So you created a nonprofit kind of in the face of opposition. People were saying, your formula is not really the way to go. You don't really have a big case to make a nonprofit. Maybe you better just not do this.
Absolutely.
And so with that type of maybe resistance, even from experts, you decided courage on, soldier on, buck up, do it anyway. It's not a big thing for you yet, but it's still a thing. In fact, you had an event in May, was it?
Yeah. Yep.
It was a run, 5K?
Yeah, it was a 5K in silent auction. We called it Jogging for Noggins.
Because of the brain,
Yep.
It's for brain, benign brain tumor
Benign brain tumors.
patients.
Yes. Yep, patients and their families.
And survivors and their families.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, your story includes that. So we want to hear a little about your story during this first section here. Tell us how you came into this situation, and your banner is up there. So that's great. It's got your name and Team Anna 417, as I call it, Anna.
Yep, it works either way.
They just get into these acronyms and they just start saying words.
Yeah, it just so happens to be a name, so it works out.
One of my co-hosts is with NAMI. It's the National Alliance for Mental Illness, but you go NAMI.
NAMI. I like that. That sounds
Don't
good.
call mommy, call NAMI. Anyway,
I like that.
they're all wonderful organizations. Yeah. I tend to make light of everything, as you know. Everyone's insulted equally, or enjoyably flattered equally.
Yes. Yeah. I found that too. Yeah. So I will tell you a little bit about myself, and I will keep my story as short or as long as you want it to be.
If you get too long, I'll just say we're going to commercial break.
Okay. Let's see here. When I was 20 years old, I was in college at Missouri State University studying broadcast journalism. My dream was to be a TV reporter, and throughout my production classes, I started to notice that I was losing hearing in my right ear, and it continued to get worse and worse. And so I had gone to an urgent care here in town, Family Medical Walk-in Clinic. They were wonderful to work with me. They did the hearing test, and they were able to verify that I was 100% deaf in my right ear. And from that, they sent me to an ENT specialist here in town in Springfield. And they did a bunch of balance tests with me. They did hearing tests. They did a bunch of different things to look at my memory. And at that point in time in my life, I didn't know how all those elements tied in together. And from there, they told me that I could have one of three things wrong with me. I could have bad luck. I could have a injury that has surfaced from a past cheerleading incident of them dropping me, which I thought was rather bizarre. And last but not least, they said that you could have a brain tumor. And from there,
wasn't the brain tumor also included in the bad luck scenario?
you would think so. Yeah. And the level of empathy for delivering that news to someone was not really there.
It's just a matter of fact statement.
Yeah. And I understand that they have to give all cases of what could be a possibility, but I thought 2 out of the 3 were kind of bizarre. Kind of very light to very extreme on severity. And so from there, they sent me to have an MRI. And I went to MRI of Springfield here in town. And they were able to determine that I had a brain tumor that was sitting on my auditory nerve, which was allowing my hearing to diminish. And from there, they then told me that I had what was called a vestibular schwannoma, and that is the scientific term for acoustic neuroma. So at that point in time, I had no idea what that meant. And thankfully, my father is a physician, and he acted as my health advocate at that point in time in my life. And I'm very fortunate for that, because otherwise I wouldn't have known what to do, where to go, even where to begin looking for treatment options. So we found a doctor up in St. Louis, up at Barnes Jewish. And from there, they gave me options. They told me that the tumor was big enough that it needed to come out. There are different ways that they can try to either remove the tumor or shrink the tumor. And I chose to go the surgical route, where they actually make an incision behind the ear, and they go back there and try to remove it that way. And so, long story short, I begged them to let me finish my semester of college. I was one semester away. I had an internship lined up at Color 10. So they let me finish. I was supposed to do my internship after surgery. I went up there. They really made it sound like it was pretty cut and dry. They would go in, try to get the tumor out. It would be an 8 to 9 hour surgery, and then I'd be good. And my experience with it was completely different than what I expected.
Oh my gosh. You're saying your experience was different than what you expected. Is that because it was worse, better, or something else?
I would say it was worse.
You went from bad news to worse news.
Yeah.
Okay.
But being 20, at that time I was 21, being naive was probably the best case scenario for me, because
you didn't know the outcome would be permanent.
No, not at that time. And they had said that my facial nerve could be affected when removing the tumor, but they could not guarantee what the outcome was going to be until they got in there. And unfortunately, the tumor had grown big enough that it was sharing blood supply with my facial nerve. And so when I woke up from the 9 hour surgery, I was in ICU, and I remember my doctor coming in and asking me to smile, and my face shot out. And so that's when my life changed.
Wow. That's heavy news for a 20-year-old, especially going into a public broadcasting idea. Yeah. Changes everything. We'll be back after this important message from our sponsor.
Enter the talent contest at Axe Fest. $10 entry, $50 to winner. Axe Media Group.
Your sandwich was so limited.
Your sandwich had a lot of butter.
All right, we're back. Well, we're talking to Jennifer Miller. She is a brain cancer or brain tumor survivor, is the way you'd say it. You survived it, but not without permanent effects.
Correct.
So tell us now, you got 20 years old, you got the word that you were going to have a tumor removed. You thought you would get recovery after the tumor. Right away, you knew something was wrong.
Yeah, so after the surgery, when I woke up and I had facial paralysis, which I didn't really expect to happen. And then also the fact that even though they removed the tumor, I was 100% deaf in my right ear, and that was permanent damage.
And they didn't know necessarily that would be one of the outcomes?
At that point in time, their surgical process, they could not help the hearing nerve.
Would they have given that as a possible outcome?
Nowadays,
But
yeah.
not then? They
not
didn't
then.
really? They were surprised?
No, not really. They knew that I probably wouldn't be able to hear, but they said that since I'd already lived with it for a couple of years, it probably wouldn't be any different.
You had lost your hearing anyway.
Yeah. So I lost my hearing before I even had the surgery. So the main challenge I had afterwards was trying to figure out how to deal with facial paralysis. And then also the way the tumor sits, the acoustic neuroma tumor, it sits on your auditory nerve as well as your balance nerve. So I could not walk correctly.
Oh, wow.
And so it just looked like I had a vertigo issue. And so I had to pretty much do physical therapy to relearn how to balance myself. And then another issue that I had with my eye, when you think of facial paralysis, you don't really think about your eye being an issue. At least I didn't. The healthcare staff did not tell me about that until I went back up there for my follow-up, and they said that my cornea was drying out and that they were going to have to stitch my eye shut.
Goodness gracious.
And so from there, I really had felt like I had lost my identity.
Yeah.
Everything in life had changed. And I think where my pure frustration came was not from the diagnosis, the surgical procedure. It is the misconception of benign tumors.
Oh.
And not even from the medical community, but from the community itself. It was brushed off.
Because benign is non-cancerous,
Yes.
They think it's just, okay, you get rid of it, you're done.
You're done. And I was very, very insulted, hurt, scarred from this. My whole life had been turned upside down. And it was like a gut punch. And I think some people's reactions when people are going through things is they think it's a form of making you feel better, to give you a scenario of someone who has it worse than you. And
Sure.
at that point in time, that's
not a way
worst thing that you can do to someone going through something. Saying nothing is better than saying that, in my opinion.
People that go through a loss are coached to say, not to say so-and-so's in a better place because they're not with the person that's feeling the loss.
Exactly.
To say something like, I don't really understand how you must feel,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm definitely wanting to be here for you.
Yeah.
Would be way better.
Yes.
Well, the medical community, how do you respond? Your dad's a medical doctor.
Mm-hmm.
How did you get over, or did you get over, animosity towards the medical profession? Because right now I'm rising up and thinking, what a bunch of characters that didn't know what they were doing, or they're insensitive at best.
So I think
I'm already ready
yeah.
to say, what's up?
No, and so through that entire journey, they saved my life. You have to look at it in that sense. They
Mm-hmm.
saved my life. They see so many patients, and it's unfortunate in that sense. But what I took away from it is a communication factor. The lack of communication and the bedside manner, I guess you would say. And so instead of getting angry at them, because we all have our own talents, and they are so well versed in the scientific side of medicine,
Mm-hmm.
whereas I couldn't be a doctor. That's not the way that my brain works,
Right.
but I can communicate. And I can talk to people, and I can provide empathy and compassion. And so I wanted to blend them. And so from my healing journey took 6 years probably until I started feeling better. When they told me that I would feel better within 6 weeks. So
They just think physical, they don't understand emotional, or they just, was there not help for the emotional side of things through the medical field?
it was for me to find out on my own. And so as people say, you are your own health advocate, and I get that. But at the
You
same
really
time,
are
people
alone in this
need
advocacy.
guidance. Yeah. And so I started joining forums on social media and stuff, and I realized so many other people were alone in their benign brain tumor journey. And so I felt that I could do more. And I felt like it was my calling to help others like me.
Not everybody has that feeling when they go through something. They either isolate, or they abuse substances, or they get addicted to something, or they just don't help anybody else. They feel sorry for themselves.
And that is something that I took pride in. I chose to heal holistically. So I refused medication post-surgery. Obviously, I had to have something. They had to put me to sleep to do my surgery. But when I went back to do my eye, when they stitched my eye shut, like it was awful. But I was completely sober for that. And I chose to learn about holistic healing. Proper diet and exercise and loving your body helps so much, and allowing it the time to heal rather than a quick fix, because I did find throughout my health journey, I would go to different places because I had headaches, I had facial paralysis, I had hearing loss, I had balance. So I had to go to all different types of professionals to try to help me. And I always got handed a script.
Yeah, you were just another number.
Yeah, and I got sick of sharing my story to be handed a script. Yeah. And I was just like, I'm just going to do it on my own. Yeah. And so through all of this, I just felt so inclined to help other people. I find helping other people more therapeutic and helpful for me than helping myself.
That makes sense. Yeah. It really does.
Yeah.
I've found that to be true. A lot of times when I'm down, the best way out is to help others and feel validated for something meaningful.
Yeah.
When I felt like maybe I'm down because I don't feel like I've made a difference, that's how I do it. You go over and you help people.
Exactly.
Then you make a difference.
Exactly. And so through all the hoops and ladders and finally feeling better, I ended up graduating, getting my undergrad degree in broadcast journalism, felt so lost of what I was supposed to do after that. I went back and got my master's in health communications, which has really strengthened my communication aspect in the healthcare side of things. And then from there, I got involved in a national nonprofit dealing with acoustic neuromas. I did some support group leadership stuff here. Started doing some public speaking around town, really made myself vulnerable because I was very insecure about my facial paralysis. But once I started speaking about what I was passionate about and about helping others, that insecurity went away, which was amazing.
We're going to talk about the rest of Jennifer's incredible story right after this. Short break. And that was our sponsor this week, Beautiful You Med Spa with Sheila Bowen, and they take care of permanent makeup, scarring, skin tightening, the things to make you look your best when you might not feel your best. So my wife went over there and she got some permanent eyeliner, and I'm telling you what, she loves it. She didn't have to put on mascara. So she could if she wants, but it's enhancing. Eyeliner, mascara, me saying bad, me say it wrong. I usually mess things up when I talk about women's stuff.
To be expected, it's fine.
I'm not a mascara eyeliner expert, but our sponsor is giving away $100 this week to one of our very incredibly lucky winners, or just it's a person that's an active listener. And every week during the summer, we're giving away $100 from a different sponsor.
Awesome.
Pretty fun.
Yeah.
All you got to do is just get on here and start watching. You can like and share. It's not based on all of that. It is based on your active participation any way you can do it. If you added up the number of likes and shares, we wouldn't be comparing it that way. But we're definitely wanting all of you to like and share. Okay? Not just for $100. Just do it because you're a good person. Huh? Boy, I just sense all your joy out there. Thank you. Johnny's forceful. Johnny's a rooster, not a chicken. Okay? But no matter how loud the rooster may crow, it's the hen that lays the egg.
That's right.
You got to understand the value of women in our culture, and that's why I understand the value of having a female co-host. There's a couple guys on before me, and then there's a couple more guys on a sports show, and I just didn't need a couple more guys on my show. But I don't mind having guys on my show. I don't mind it at all. It's just I want to pick on you.
That's
personally.
fine. I can do it.
When I saw you, I was automatically intrigued. You had a certain way about you, and when I met you, you reminded me of someone else, but your body has been altered, and your situation has been altered, and you still have this piece about you. You seem to have balanced from that.
Oh, thanks.
You've been helping enough people to where that's become a real valuable asset to your story, because prior to this, you would have been a news journalist, and people would have oohed and awed over you, and you would have had a following, and it's temporary, and then you get old, and then nobody would care.
That's
right?
Yeah. I was thinking the other day.
Think how much more valuable you are to the culture.
Yeah, and I was thinking the other day.
I know, her wonderful little girls.
What in life do you want people to remember you by? Because that is a powerful statement. Because so many people are passionate about different things, and I hope someday, when it's my time, that people remember me for being an advocate for benign brain tumors and acoustic neuromas. I've met so many amazing people that have been affected, not only patients but their families, and helping share their stories and spread awareness makes me so happy, to the fact that I devote a lot. I have a full-time job. This is all I do on the side, and I will work day and night for this because it's what I'm truly passionate about, and these people deserve a voice. And there's just so many different outlets that we can help, and how many groups of people and families. And so coming together as a community and raising awareness for this is above my wildest dreams.
So who do you want to see this program? You were mentioning before we got on air, how do they find it? I said go to YouTube and type in Johnny Rooster, Jennifer Miller on the title.
Okay.
Because that's what will be on the title.
Okay.
But when they do that, what do you hope people to have? Are you hoping for people with benign brain tumors to know about this? Find it? That's really who you want.
Absolutely.
Fine.
Yeah. Well,
Is it very common? Is it a really rare thing?
So
Like, do you have an audience of 5, or what is it?
Well, they say that it's a rare benign brain tumor, but for the amount of people that I have met in this community, I find it very hard that it is as rare as they once said it was.
Can you put a number on it, or do you know about how many people are afflicted?
Gosh, for acoustic neuromas themselves, I would have to go back and look at the updated research. But I know that benign brain tumors themselves, over 80% of brain tumors are benign. And over 84,000 people will be diagnosed with a benign brain tumor in 2021.
So 84,000 in the year.
Yeah. And so there are just so many people affected by benign brain tumors, and that is why I'm continuing to push the fight and raise awareness. So yeah, not only do I want people who have been diagnosed to know about us, I also want people who would like to help funding. There are not answers for a known cause for acoustic neuromas on top of the other types of benign brain tumors. And so there needs to be more funding to help with research. And so for the past 2 years, 10% of our profits raised yearly has gone to Washington University, which is in St. Louis,
yes.
To help further, research.
Are they specializing in research for benign brain tumors?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right there in St. Louis?
Yeah.
Okay.
Washington University. They're an amazing university.
Yes, they are.
Yeah. And so there's just so...
Well, does money cure that problem? I mean, putting it bluntly, giving money for research, will it reap results? Will it?
Yeah, so they actually, if you get on the Journal of American Medicine, you can see the progress that they're making with benign brain tumors. And now they are learning that they can harvest nerves in your legs and do a graft and put it back on your facial and try to help your facial nerve.
From your own body.
Yes, yeah.
Instead of from an outside source.
Yeah.
Is that more cost effective and more the results are much better?
Yes, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That would make sense, but it would seem really strange how they could find nerves in your leg to help your brain.
Your facial nerve.
Your facial nerve.
Yeah, and so out in California, San Diego.
Who thinks of this stuff?
I know. That's what they are amazing for what they do, and I can never replace how smart the medical community is.
Wow.
But it takes people like me who medicine's not really for me in that aspect because I pass out the moment I see blood, but I can help raise awareness and I can help raise money to help these people find answers.
So there's people with benign brain tumors, but what do they experience? The losses like you have?
Yeah.
And that's pretty common?
Yeah.
So they don't normally come through it with no negative effects. They don't just recover fully.
No. So it takes
like the loss of hearing.
Loss of hearing. Some people who don't have 100% loss of hearing, they'll have 30 to 70%. Loss of memory is a big thing. Some people have lost their long-term memory. Some people have lost their short-term memory. The facial paralysis, the balance issues, chronic headaches, fatigue. I mean, the list goes on. And so that is why I highly recommend, if you are interested in the benign brain tumor community, to come to one of our support groups to listen to some of these people's stories, because it will show you the good, the bad, and the ugly. Because there are some people that have recovered really, really well, and I want to share their stories too. So that way you can see all ends of the spectrum.
Do you feel self-conscious about your appearance?
Anymore, I feel like God gave me this to work as an advocate for the cause. And so I actually am proud to represent the community of people that are afraid to get up and be confident in the mornings. I still have my down days. There's depression and anxiety that come with that sense of identity change. And so, yeah, I mean, I'm proud that this is where my life led me. And I feel like I'm able to, be a part of this and do broadcast journalism in a different way. And the type of message that I'm delivering now is more important to me than any other type of journalism.
You remember when I met you, I was just kind of giving you a run over like you're a car in a mechanic shop saying, show me your scars, do this, that, throwing question after question at you really fast to see how you'd respond. You're unflappable. You didn't have anything that would create anxiety in your body and your body language, anything like that. You took it all in stride because you had already faced so many obstacles. You saw this. Here's another opportunity for you to broadcast a message like this.
Yeah.
Now, you said you had been helped by Family Medical Walk-In Clinic. Do you work for them?
Yeah,
Is that your full-time job?
That is my full-time job. I'm an HR director over there, and it's amazing how my life has always led me back there. I started working there when I was 15. And I did insurance verification and things like that. And I had planned to leave there after I got out of school.
Now you're 25, so.
I had planned to leave there after I got out of school. Well, then I got sick, and they were amazing to work with me and hired me on part-time to do marketing. And as I continued to heal and get better, an opportunity for HR position came available. And at that point in time, I was working on my master's, still didn't know what I wanted to do. So I took up that position, and I'm just extremely grateful for that organization and what they do for the community.
So Family Medical Walk-In Clinic, they are like similar to an OCH type thing, a walk-in clinic?
Yeah, so they are urgent care, primarily urgent care. We do have an orthopedic specialist there as well, but we are locally owned, been in business for 24 years. We're independent from the hospitals, and so, watching Dr. Burke and his amazing entrepreneur skills, it's been cool to learn from him to apply it in the nonprofit aspect.
Well, that's great. We're going to be talking all about nonprofits and stuff like that right after this important message. Welcome back, everybody. My name is Johnny Rooster, host of Morning Mouth. This comes on to AMG Broadcasting. You can watch us on YouTube, Facebook, Internet TV, Internet radio, blah, blah, blah. You can watch us. I suggest YouTube because it's easy to find.
Easy.
Go to Johnny Rooster, Jennifer Miller. Type that in the title. You'll find this episode. If I have a guest and you just type in Johnny Rooster and then the guest name, that's how you'll find it anytime. If you're watching live, we do air at Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 9 a.m. to 9:40 a.m. Central Time. And we are more than happy to bring on entrepreneurs, nonprofits, and performing artists that we believe in. We don't believe in all of them. I mean, we just don't. Sometimes their message isn't it's not productive to what we want.
Gotcha.
But you have a message for benign brain tumor patients. Is the diagnosis pretty easy and simple when people get that? Is it like known, this is what you've got? Like you had 3 possibilities, but are people finding out pretty quickly?
Yeah, well, the only way to detect it actually is through an MRI.
But do they have symptoms? Because like they say check for breast cancer, check for this type of thing, do regular checkups. But is there a way to know? Why would you even think, do I have a benign brain tumor? You would never think that.
No, when I was having hearing loss, I never, ever
would have considered that would be one of the...
No, we always were lake people, and I thought I just had swimmer's ear, something like that. And so things that people can look for are gradual hearing loss, balance issues. Some people have facial paralysis before they have anything else. Yeah.
So that's common.
Yeah, it's a possibility.
Relatively common.
Yeah. And people have very bad vertigo, tendonitis, the ringing in the ear.
Is it common among older people who normally have those symptoms anyway?
Yeah. So I was actually an extremely young case.
You're 20 years young when
20.
this happened.
Yeah. So the average median is, 50 to 70.
Yeah.
And sometimes the physicians choose not to operate. They'll do a watch and wait for the patients that are older, just because the surgery can be so detrimental to their health.
Do you think God played a role in your life early so you can have a message a long time, or do you look at things that way?
I always knew God had a plan for me. I just didn't know what it was.
We can blame him a lot. That's an easy target when you're angry.
Yeah. And,
why did he do this to me?
I felt like
That's
that.
my pity party, my favorite thing to do.
I felt like a victim. And now I praise him every day. And my relationship with God is the strongest aspect and what gets me up in the mornings. I feel he wants me here to do solely this.
I find it annoying and irritating that the current culture jumps out of its way to avoid God, Jesus, or any religion. They want to avoid the Christian religion in particular. Doesn't really matter to me until they start avoiding it like it's something awful. It's not something awful. It's an anchor, and it means something. And I've seen a funny thing. When I was 10 years old, my sister prayed for our cat because my brother accidentally stepped on it and broke its back. The cat had a back like an L. We watched as that cat straightened out and before our eyes.
Wow.
I can't make that up.
Yeah.
It was just really part of what happened.
Yeah.
I know that's different, but a kid crying out to God and God answering that right away, that's unusual, but it's there.
Yeah.
It really happened.
That stuff is amazing. And that's what it's just like. I listen to my worship songs every morning I get ready, and to hear my daughter say, "Is this our Jesus song?" Like, that's amazing to me. And I just find such power and strength in my relationship with God. And, it empowers me, and how other people take their diagnosis and what, comes of it. I hope that they can strengthen their relationship with God and realize that everything happens for a reason, or at least that's how I live my life. And I believe, I was given that diagnosis at a young age because God had a different plan for me.
Well, that'd be something to say when you say everything happens for a reason. When something bad happens, then they decide that God is against them.
And originally I felt that way because I didn't have a strong relationship with him prior to that. I was just lost. I didn't know. And, I was angry. Why me? Why do all my beautiful friends that I went to school with, why do they get to live these glamorous lives?
Because you are a beautiful woman and you were a cheerleader, and there's no doubt you had the pretty people around you. You weren't one of the ugly ducklings. You had a lot going for you physically.
Yeah, well.
And there's lots of reason to think a victim thought.
Yeah, and, I feel like I'm happy that it turned out the way it did. I can honestly and truly say that, because what I do now just gives me so much strength, and I'm so gracious for it. And I'm a nicer person because of it. And, I probably wasn't the nicest person back then. And so it's just amazing how your character is defined with what happens to you and how you choose to handle it. I chose to handle it holistically. And, when I would get on forums and listen to other people's stories, they were so doom and gloom and life is over. And I was like, no, this is not what other people that are hurting need to hear. And so from there, I just decided to create my own message and learn how to create my own nonprofit and focus more on our community itself. And the amount of amazing people that I have in our benign brain tumor tribe is just unbelievable.
So you have a nonprofit, Team ANA 417. The ANA is for the big words.
Yes.
But what do you want to accomplish, and what can we do to help you?
What I want to accomplish is getting people to realize that benign brain tumors are life-changing. And just because they aren't most of the time life-threatening does not mean that they aren't life-changing. And I want people to rally around those who have been diagnosed with a benign brain tumor, as well as their families, because the patient is trying to heal, the families are trying to cope and learn how to help the person. All their lives are changed. And so what you guys as a community can offer to us is donations, because that helps further research initiatives, but also 85% of our profits raised goes back to this community and goes back to patients and their families. We help them with financial assistance, because you don't just go in for a surgery and you're done. You do so many pre-visits, you do the either surgery or you do gamma knife radiation, which is ongoing. Then you have to have MRI follow-ups. The list goes on and on, counseling, everything like that. And so by you guys helping our nonprofit Team ANA 417, we are able to have the financial needs to help these people and give them money if they want to do 6 weeks of counseling. We will give them $800 to go do that. We want them to help themselves. And so the way the community can back us is by supporting us financially and also supporting the people that make us Team ANA.
So if somebody's got a benign brain tumor, they can contact you and you can help them how? What
Absolutely.
would you be able to do?
So what we do is I have them contact us on our email, which is teamanamo@gmail.com. And then, or they can go on our website and they can submit an application for financial assistance. And from there, we will contact them directly, have them fill out an application, let us know what they need. We review it with our board of directors, and, we will go through the legalities of all that, and we help them.
So you're an official 501c3.
Yes, absolutely.
And you've been going how long?
We've been not in business, but we've been helping people since 2017. Really during that time, just trying to learn the logistics of how to do a nonprofit. And then from there, we started doing our fundraising in 2019.
Well, there's lots to talk about every month. You'll be back next month is what we have you on the schedule.
Yes, sir.
So I appreciate having Jennifer Miller here today. You're watching Morning Mouth with Johnny Rooster and Jennifer Miller. Today's version has been about benign brain tumors and how you can get help with that. Jennifer has the story, and go back to YouTube and you can find it right there with Jennifer Miller and Johnny Rooster. Until next time, I'll be back on Friday with something unusual because Fridays are our surprise day. So we'll see you then as I'm choking up. Talk to you later. Take care.